So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now we have a little bit more news and rumors, a couple things that we couldn't quite fit into yesterday's video, and a new piece of breaking news that just came out this morning. So today we're going to talk about some more Lions news and rumors, including coaching hires, coaching fires, coaches leaving, and of course some re-signing news and rumors of players that the Lions would like to re-sign and players that may like to re-sign with the Detroit Lions. So with that being said, let's start off with the coaching changes, because the Lions have had two coaches leave in the past week. One of them left for a different job, and one of them was simply let go by the Detroit Lions. Now, Don Capers was a defensive assistant for the Detroit Lions a season ago. He's been a long-tenured coach in the NFL and has been a long-tenured coach throughout the ranks of college football as well. He began his coaching career in 1972 and stayed at the collegiate level until 1986, where he took an NFL job as a defensive backs coach with the New Orleans Saints. He was a defensive backs coach for multiple years with multiple different teams before getting a head coaching job with a team in the NFL. He was there for a couple of years, then he became an assistant head coach, then he became a defensive coordinator. He won a Super Bowl as an assistant coach. He won a Coach of the Year award as a head coach 1 year, and he has been all around the NFL and has been around the game of football for a very, very long time. Now, he was brought in by Dan Campbell a year ago to be a defensive assistant for the Detroit Lions and did his job. He did very, very well. He helped the Lions as a defensive assistant, kind of worked everywhere, primarily with the defensive backs because that's where his best background is, but as a defensive assistant, he worked all over the field, worked with every single team, worked with every single positional group to get them ready for Sundays, and I think he did a really good job, and apparently so did the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos hired Don Capers to their coaching staff as a defensive assistant, a lateral move from an NFC team to an AFC team. It is hard to see him go, but he was a good coach for the Detroit Lions and will be a good coach for the Denver Broncos. The Lions will have to find a new defensive assistant, and with that, I don't know who exactly is going to be available for defensive assistant, but it is something we can look into in the future. And if you guys have any suggestions, or if you guys have anybody that you think could be the next defensive assistant coach for the Detroit Lions, let me know down in the comments below. But the other coach that left, or I should say the other coach that was relieved of his duties, was linebackers coach Mark Delone. Now, Mark Delone was a longtime linebackers coach with the Chicago Bears, and before that, he was a linebackers coach elsewhere in the NFL. He's had a coaching job for a very long time at the NFL level and has been a really, really good coach throughout his career. But last year with the Lions, it just didn't fit with what the organization was looking for. The linebacking core was in disarray a lot, and yes, a lot of it had to do with injuries, but the Lions, after week 2, cut projected starter Jamie Collins from the roster. Alex Anzalone had very inconsistent play throughout the year. Derek Barnes' development wasn't all that great. He didn't develop in a way that a lot of Lions fans wanted him to, especially after a really promising preseason. Derek Barnes didn't see the field very much, and a lot of that development and a lot of our inconsistent linebacker play had to do with the coaching. And I'm not saying Mark Delone is a bad coach, and I'm not saying that, he's not going to find another job somewhere and that he's not going to be successful elsewhere in the NFL, because we have seen him be successful. He did develop Roquan Smith. He did develop those Bears linebackers that are some of the better linebacking cores in the NFL right now, but the fit just wasn't the right one for the Detroit Lions, right? Mark DeLone, really long tenured coach. He's been a linebackers coach with the Lions since 2021, was only a one-year player, or was only a one-year coach with the Detroit Lions. But in his time, the Lions had the 29th ranked defense and were 27th as far as points allowed on the season. The linebackers were very, very inconsistent. Jamie Collins, their projected starter, was cut after just 2 weeks of play, or I guess 2 weeks of walking around on the field because he didn't want to play. I'm not going to put that on Mark DeLone because that's not really his fault. He can't control whether a player is going to try. He can't control whether a player is going to, work his butt off on the field, right? Mark DeLone can coach him at practice. He can put him through all these different things. He can tell him what to do. But if Jamie Collins didn't want to play, he's not going to play, and Mark DeLone can't do anything about that. That's not something I'm going to hold against Mark DeLone as a coach. It's just an observation that, these linebackers, they didn't want to play, or at least Jamie Collins did not want to play, and losing one of your starting linebackers does hurt you quite a bit. But as a linebackers coach, it is your job to get the next guy prepared, and in my opinion, the linebackers just didn't seem like they were coached as well as some other positional groups on the Detroit Lions, right? The secondary had far more injuries than the linebacking core, and yet Aubrey Pleasant and Aaron Glenn had the secondary still playing really well, right? They had Will Harris on the boundary, and Will Harris recorded, I think, a 75 PFF grade when he was at boundary corner, a position he had never, ever played before. They were relying on a rookie third-round pick on the boundary to guard Devontae Adams, and they were relying on undrafted free agents in the slot to guard, some of the better slot receivers in the NFL for a long, long time. The secondary had a lot of injury concerns. They were down to their 7th, 8th cornerback positions on the roster. They had to put safeties at corners, and yet the secondary still looked really promising for a lot of games, right? They still had 2 takeaways in the final game with Will Harris starting at the cornerback position, right? Our depth safety, our 4th string safety, had an interception in the final week of the season. Jerry Jacobs was coached very well. They brought in, guys off waiver wires for a week or two, and they made key contributions on special teams and in the secondary, and you just didn't see that with the linebacking core, right? You saw Derek Barnes make a couple impact plays, right? But he didn't get on the field enough. He didn't develop enough in the first season in order for him to stay and for order for the Lions to justify putting him on the field, and that does fall on Mark DeLone, right? Alex Anzalone's inconsistent play, right? He made some really good plays, but he also sometimes guessed, sometimes went in the wrong direction, and that allowed other teams to capitalize and get big plays off of that, and that does fall on Mark DeLone, right? Jalen Reeves-Maybin saw his best season as a linebacker. You can make that argument, but Mark DeLone, although he obviously had an impact on that, Jalen Reeves-Maybin has been making impact plays for a long time in Detroit and just finally got his chance to start because of injuries. And even Jalen Reeves-Maybin had some issues when it came to coaching on where to be, what to do in coverage, and what to do on every given play. And that does fall on Mark DeLone. Now, Mark DeLone is no longer the head coach, or is no longer the linebackers coach for the Detroit Lions. The Lions will be looking for a new linebackers coach, and of course, we will be talking about that change. We will be talking about linebackers coaches from either the collegiate level or the NFL level that could possibly look to replace him and hopefully get a little bit more development out of Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and some other young linebackers that the Lions have the opportunity to bring in. Now, the final piece of news and rumors for today is a little bit news and a little bit rumor. It has to do with re-signing certain unrestricted free agents before they hit the free agent market, and it has to do with 2 players in particular that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell seem to have very high thoughts, very high opinions on, and players that they have hinted that they would like to bring back at any cost necessary. Now, the first player that I want to talk about is the outside linebacker position, and in particular, Charles Harris. Now, Charles Harris was a former first-round pick by the Miami Dolphins, didn't play very well in Miami, was cut from there, signed a contract with the Atlanta Falcons, didn't play very well there, was, played through his contract, became an unrestricted free agent, and then the Lions decided to give the former first-round pick a chance. And in this first season with Detroit, with inconsistent coaching and a lot of rotation due to injuries, Charles Harris produced over 65 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. He played like the first-round pick that he was drafted to be, and in doing so, earned another contract with the Detroit Lions. Now, while it hasn't officially been signed yet, Brad Holmes and the outside linebacker coach in particular has specifically mentioned that they want Charles Harris to return. They've kind of hinted at it, they've talked about it, and Charles Harris, being our most productive pass rusher from a season ago, absolutely deserves a contract. Whether he's going to start next season alongside Romeo Okwara, whether he's going to play a more rotational role in a similar vein to what Julian Okwara did this year, right? Come in on certain packages or come in when players are fatigued and tired on long defensive drives, right? Whatever the case may be, he has earned a contract to produce in that role. Now, according to Over the Cap and other, contract-based websites and contract-based, mathematics, I guess is the word, Charles Harris is projected to make a yearly salary of around $7 to $8 million a year, which might seem like a lot for a rotational pass rusher, but Trey Flowers is making nearly $20 million a year to play a lesser role than what Charles Harris played a year ago. So, when you think about Charles Harris's contract, it's going to be less than half of what we're paying Trey Flowers every single year. And if Trey Flowers is on the move, which I think is really likely considering the Lions have already moved on from the rest of the Matt Patricia regime, right? They've gotten rid of the coaches they don't like. They got rid of Jamie Collins mid-season and took a huge cap hit in order to do so. They are not afraid to get rid of players if they're not working harder, if they are not producing on the field. And Trey Flowers, I would say he still works hard and is still a leader, but he does not produce on the field, and his contract is hurting the Lions more than his production is helping the Lions. So I think the Lions are not going to be afraid to move on from him this offseason, freeing up nearly $17 million, which less than half of that, again, will pay for the contract of Charles Harris. So Charles Harris, I think, will get re-signed. I think that contract will get worked out. I think that contract is going to be something the Lions can take advantage of, and I think they're going to get a really good rotational, borderline starting production out of their outside linebacker that they found as a diamond in the rough last year during free agency. And then the other player that has been talked about a lot as far as wanting to return and has been talked about a lot from the Lions' perspective of wanting to re-sign him and bring him back is starting safety Tracy Walker. Now, Tracy Walker was the third-round selection in the 2018 NFL Draft, was actually part of the first draft class by Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn when they were together, and he has been a diamond in the rough for the Detroit Lions. He's been a starting safety for 3 straight seasons, was kind of the heir apparent to Glover Quinn. When Glover Quinn retired, he was kind of the next guy in line to stand up. He changed his number, he got 21, got an interception in his first game as a starting safety. He had 2 interceptions as a rookie, although one of them did not count due to a holding call, but he made play after play after play in his rookie season and made a lot of really good plays throughout the remainder of his career as well. Now, Tracy Walker isn't somebody that has been a huge stat sheet stuffer over his career, right? He's not somebody that's always put up monster interceptions numbers, not always somebody that forces turnovers a ton, but he's that quiet safety in the secondary that nobody wants to test. He's that quiet safety in the secondary that was tested just 27 times this season and did not give up a lot of completions, right? On the season, Tracy Walker had 108 tackles, so he tackles really well. I think it's his second, if not his third season as a 100-tackle season. He had 3 tackles for loss, a sack, and 6 passes defended to go with his interceptions. So when you think of the fact that Tracy Walker was only targeted 27 times this season, he had 6 passes defended and an interception, that means less than 20 completions were put on Tracy Walker, because not every throw at him was completed, right? There was a lot that were overthrown. There was a lot where, he might not have got credit for the pass defended, but if he wasn't there, it would have been a touchdown or it would have been a completed pass, right? Nobody talks about Tracy Walker because nobody tests Tracy Walker. He's a great leader in the locker room. He's a great player on the field. And although he's not, this crazy turnover machine, right? He's not Troy Polamalu getting all these turnovers. He's not, the most vocal guy on the field necessarily. He's not somebody that you're always going to hear on the field, but he's that guy that's in the locker room. He's talking up his teammates. He's always a guy with the great mindset to come in every single day and work hard. And he is the starting safety of the Detroit Lions. He is the captain, not the captain, but he is the leader of that secondary, being the most veteran player there. And I think they should re-sign him. I don't think it'll be super overly expensive. It should be a decent amount of money because he is a starter. He is a quality safety, but it shouldn't break the bank for a starting quality quality caliber safety, and the Lions have an opportunity to return arguably their two best defensive players from a season ago in this free agency class. And according to quotes and sources, that's exactly what the Lions are looking to do. So all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about this new batch of news and rumors? Who do you want to see as our new linebackers coach? Would you like to see the Lions re-sign Tracy Walker, Charles Harris, or both of them? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think. With all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions!